when that came out Friday night, I was surprised to see the online voter registration.
Oh, election meeting.
I mean, the election
Yeah.
bill. I'm sorry. I was surprised to see the online voter registration in that. Is that something you're both on board with?
Yeah, I agree with the concept. Online voter registration goes perfectly in my mind with the way that we want to deal with voter ID and everything in the long run. So right now, if you go to the GAB's website, you are able to download a form, fill it all in, and mail it into your clerk, it's my understanding. What this would do is actually reduce the cost because you would go online, you would fill out that exact same form, it would be double checked against the DOT database, so it says Robin J. Voss and my address and all that has to match up exactly on my driver's license, and I'd be on the voter list. Still required to hopefully come in on election day with a photo ID to prove who I was, that's still our intention, but I think it's a good way to use technology to enhance our voter ID efforts, not go in the opposite path.
And why was the recall stuff? Why was that removed?
Well, you're trying to, you've been working on this, I've been working on the budget, but
Yeah.
my understanding is we're trying to get a bipartisan bill, something we can work together with the Democrats on, and anything that was contentious was removed.
Well, and my intention is to take this in pieces because we did not want to try to make it seem like we were doing something. We had been working on this since the very beginning of January to try to put together an election reform package, hoping to bring Democrats along. At the end, we were able to get Democrats to agree on a sizable number of pieces. So we'll come back in the fall and we're going to take up voter ID. We're going to take up all the other pieces after we've had the summer to make sure we have every possible opportunity for people to give input and create the best possible bill.
So what was the thing that you didn't want to give up at the end? What you said you negotiated this. What the voter ID stuff? What was it that you wanted to keep in?
Well, there's a bunch of things that we are negotiating that we're going to bring up later. Now, remember, when this bill was introduced, the whole reason that Jeff Stone introduced the bill, and it's one that I support 100%, and we are going to make sure we vote on before the end of session, and that's having a viable voter ID proposal in place for the November 2014 elections. But in the middle of that process, we got a victory. We saw that the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals found that there is a constitutional basis for Wisconsin enacting a voter ID statute. The next lawsuit that's pending is whether or not the one that passed the legislature in 2011 and 12 is actually constitutional. But we now know we have the right to do it. So we want to take and make sure that we analyze the court case, we see what happens in both of those cases as they move forward, so that we create a statute that will continue to pass constitutional muster and can be the law of the land for 2014. The other thing that I wanted is I want Citizens United codified. That was another thing that was in the proposal that we are now, there's another lawsuit that's pending. Wisconsin Right to Life is a participant in a case about whether or not those statutes are legal or not. Some folks wanted to see what the court case said in that as well. So we know we have a 2-year legislative session.
You wanted it codified. Just be specific. And what particular things did you want as a result of that?
Sure. I do not believe that we should have restrictions on the ability of individuals to be able to advocate for their beliefs in a free and democratic society. That's one area that we compromised on. I don't believe, as you know, I don't believe in the aggregate limit. I think that as long as you have a limit on how much you can give to any one elected official, if you choose to give more or less, that should be your constitutional right. We already saw with the concept of Citizens United that people have the right for express advocacy all across the country, and it's made our system in many ways, I think, better. Because I would rather have more information flowing so voters can make an informed choice as opposed to less.
So you think if that would pass, that there would be an increase in the amount of money that's going through the system?
I don't know if it'd be an increase, but I think that there would hopefully be more transparency.
More information, that's paid information.
Yeah, but also, I mean, as an example, I would rather have money go through political parties. I think that they are more transparent. Everything has to be disclosed. Everything has to, you have a county party chairman, you have a state party chairman, you understand what the organization stands for. So those are all things we want to develop as a way to try to increase the opportunity for folks to participate. But at the same time, letting people who want to use those 527s, the entities that are allowed under Citizens United to continue. I fully support their right to free speech. I don't want to take theirs away. I just want to enhance the ability of others to do the same thing.
But would you require then, or there be separate, that transparency, letting people know who is contributing to whom?
Right, so if the bill would pass as we have negotiated, people would be able to give a larger amount of dollars to a political party. They'd be able to give a larger amount of dollars to an individual candidate. It's only, right now, the limit's in 1974, I think, or 72.
I think.
Yeah, we're $500. If you just updated that for inflation, it's 5 times. Well, we didn't even do that. We only went to 2 times because we don't want to have an undue influence that people would perceive from having such a huge increase all at one time. But at the same time, I think we have to update things, considering the fact that when that was passed, I was 6 years old or 3 years old. I think the times have changed, and so certainly a cost to run elections.
Is the Senate on board with this, the current deal?
I can't speak for the state Senate, but my hope was that by having the opportunity for Democrats and Republicans to reach a consensus on topics that we both agreed with, setting aside the fact that we're going to come back in the fall after more study over the summer and keep working on election reform, I think that makes perfect sense.
On voter ID, what would change, what needs to change in the redone bill compared to what you did before?
Well, we had gotten some concerns from different entities talking about the provisions that were put in the bill in regards to, I'm sorry.
Provisional balance,
And
right?
that was part of it, but if you think about the way that someone casts their ballot right now, they have the ability to go and get a free ID, which I totally agree with. They have the ability to go and vote on election day. But there are certain circumstances where perhaps the information to be able to get their voter ID was burnt in a fire, or they have a religious objection, or, once again, they are too poor. We wanted to give every opportunity for people to be able to cast their ballot, but do so in a way that upholds the integrity of voter ID, but doesn't go to such extremes that potentially it could cause problems. I support the bill that we voted on last time, and that's
Was it
why.
flawed? Was the original bill flawed? Was it unconstitutional?
No, I don't believe so, but I'm not a constitutional lawyer. There are some who are saying that if you look at the Indiana statutes, which was modeled after, we should take a second look and just guarantee that as the case goes to the Supreme Court, that we have every chance to win, because it's too important to every single person in Wisconsin to make sure we have voter ID on the books for November 2014. And that's why we're kind of pausing, taking the summer to make sure that we have all the legal experts kind of lined up behind one common set of rational thinking. And then we'll come back in the fall and have every opportunity for that to move
So
forward.
these are 2 bills that we're talking about, this first bill and then a voter ID separately?
That's my plan. Now, that bill's not introduced. We're going to take time over the summer to try to work on that, and then we'll come back in September with our second effort.